Bonjour, and welcome to Zonie Living. We're talking about travel today, travel in places all over the world, some of the most popular spots, also to some hidden gems, and also to some great adventures. With me is travel advisor Monica Leuenberger from Flagstaff. Monica owns Avenues of the World along with her husband Eve, and they are celebrating their 30 years in business. Welcome, Monica.
Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you for having me here.
It is always so much fun to talk to you. I love seeing you at events because, of course, I want to know where your latest adventure has been and what's the newest hotspot to go visit. So, I want to tell you, as you know, I'm joining you from Paris.
Yes.
And that I was happily surprised to hear that that was US News and World Report's number one most popular vacation spot right now. Now, I know what I love about Paris, but what are you hearing? Why are people so interested in Paris?
I think it's a charm. It's a sidewalk cafes and where you can just sit and watch people walking and have a glass of wine, of this amazing French wine. When I was in Paris a couple of years ago, the French wine was actually less expensive than a glass of Coke. I don't know if it's still that
Wow.
way.
Yes. I
It's
think we
great.
bought a bottle for under $5 the other day, which is incredible.
Yeah.
Now, the same report that I just quoted lists London as number two, and USA Today, however, ranks London as number one. So tell us what's special about London. Why are people drawn there?
Well, I think it's the history, and it's the royalty, and it's the fact that there's no language barrier. A lot of people are intimidated by that, so it makes it a very easy place to go. And just the amount of history and Harry Potter and the Buckingham Palace, and you really have everything. The museums, the shows. It's one of these places where it has something for absolutely everybody.
You know, that's one place that I haven't been yet, so I'll have to
Mhm.
write that down on my
Yeah,
list. And then
absolutely.
Traveler's Choice Awards by TripAdvisors ranks Cancun as the number one place to visit. Tell us what's special about Cancun.
I think it's the white beaches and it's a great value. The price point is always good. And you have everything. You have the family friendly all inclusives, and they have all these activities and actions and great food included and wines and alcohol. Or you can do these exclusive small resorts where you have your own plunge pool and very romantic and beautiful, water right there in front of you. So Cancun and the entire beach area, the Riviera Maya is definitely one of the top places.
Absolutely beautiful. And your own plunge pool. That sounds amazing. I, al-
Yes.
I also want to talk about cruises. Now, I know during the COVID years, there were some, cruise businesses that were really struggling, but that's not the case today.
No. So what happens is it was a rough start for them with a lot of regulations and a lot of people having, the jitters to go on a cruise. So there were lots of incredible deals. Now our challenge is to find space. And if people call us and they say we want to go on a river cruise this fall, I'm having trouble finding a cabin. And
Wow.
if people are looking for next year, I was just looking at a cruise for next August, and the entire ship had four cabins left for next year. So
This
the demand is very high.
Now I know you're planning a yacht trip,
Yes.
uh, and that's from Rome to Malta, and that's next year. And how is can we still get a spot on that trip?
Yes, and that one I also have about four cabins left. So
Wow.
we booked that a year and a half ago is when I grabbed it, and it's just been insane. Each time I call to add somebody to our, group of friends and clients, I have fewer cabins to choose from. But that is a really small ship. It's 112 passengers and 89 staff. It is casual, country club casual. There is nothing formal about it, and it's very active. You have the use of mountain bikes, you have jet skis, you have kayaks, and that's all included. And it
Wow.
goes to some really off the beaten past places that the big ships don't go to. And when they introduce this particular trip, they do this once or twice every year, Rome to Malta, and it always fills up because it's just a cool itinerary.
And this is one of the reasons why we should have a good travel agent.
Yes, because I know about these.
Exactly. Well,
Yeah.
let's talk about in the States. Now, there's always popular cities like New York City, San Diego, Honolulu. What are you seeing now with other cities that are competing for tourists?
You think Nashville has been amazing. They have added so many hotels and they're adding even more activities. Anybody that enjoys live music has to go to Nashville. It is truly an amazing experience. I always love Seattle. I think it's a
Hmm.
fun city, and I'm an outdoorsy person, and there's so much outdoor stuff right by Seattle. Mount Rainier is only 3 hours away. You can also do a trip where you take the ferry over to one of the islands and cruise around and go to some, farmers markets. The produce there is quite amazing. You can go to the fish market in Seattle. So it's a really fun city. And when you have a nice weekend, it is so funny because people are ecstatic to have sunshine. So, yes,
Absolutely. We're a little bit spoiled here in Arizona, but the Pacific Northwest is so beautiful. So I can just imagine how much fun it is when they don't have a rainy day up there.
exactly. Yes.
Well, I was thrilled to know that the Grand Canyon is still a very affordable trip for people, especially if you like to camp. And you have some other ideas for adventure seekers.
Yes. So we have a lot of unique travels. Biking and bike trips and hiking trips have become very, very popular. And it
Mhm.
gets you off the beaten path. And it really gets you to soak up a place and explore it. And of course, I'm a little biased, but I think Switzerland is the best place to explore the outdoors because our mountains are so beautiful. Getting around is so easy with the public transportation. The the signage everywhere, and the diversity of hiking trails is absolutely amazing. You can do a panoramic trail where you take a gondola up to the mountain and then you follow the ridge line. It's more or less flat. You see some lakes along the way. You have something to eat and drink at one of the mountain huts. And then you can take a different gondola back down to the little town where you started. Or you can
Mm.
do some really hardcore hikes, where you are hiking for a full day and you're going way up into the mountains. Maybe you go to one of the lakes that is actually the spring from where the Rhino originates. So, it's really cool to see the waters that will end up, over by the North Sea.
Oh, yes, and
Yeah.
water everywhere. It
Yeah.
sounds beautiful. I remember you telling me that at a chamber mixer that that's still your favorite place.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, travel tips. Let's talk a little bit about that. Now, I know you're big on travel insurance. Tell us why.
You never know what happens. And COVID has showed that to us.
Mm.
Now, COVID wasn't necessarily a covered reason by the travel insurance, but still there was so much support when people were stranded, when people needed assistance. And you really don't know what's going to happen. Sometimes you want it to be protected in case you cannot travel. What
Mhm.
happens if your mom gets hurt and you need to stay home and take care of her? You don't want to lose $10,000 because of that. And if this happens the week before you go, that's a real issue. So it covers you before and also covers you if something happens while you travel. And the main thing is, for example, Italy, they have terrible, terrible hospitals. Their public hospitals are absolutely awful. And you don't want anybody to go there because once you go there and you get treated okay. But also there's, the doctors, the hospital is going to be like, okay, we have a rich American here. And they're not necessarily eager to release you, even when they can release you. And
Oh,
insurance
really?
cannot get you out. Like the doctor has to release you. If you have insurance, you call them, tell them, hey, I have this emergency. This is what the doctor said. Where can I go? And they put you in a private hospital that has American style care. That's the key thing, American style care. So, I'm hard in Italy about the hospitals, but now imagine that in Ecuador when you go to the Galapagos. And I mean, there's so many places worldwide that just don't have the facilities we do. And if you're on your own and you just pick a doctor or you pick a hospital, it could be detrimental. So
Wow.
it's crucial. To me, travel insurance is absolutely crucial.
I had no idea. Well, let's now talk about Africa because to me, an African safari seems to be on everybody's bucket list. But that also sounds like it could be grueling for a lot of people by the time they actually make it. First of all, the trip to get there is a long trip, and then you're out in the wild. We have some pictures of you with a gorilla in the wild. We also have you with a hippopotamus. So, two things here. Tell us, is it easy to get to Africa? I mean, once you're there,
Yes.
and then also tell us about the kinds of adventures, the once in a lifetime adventures you have.
Yes, I think that the key thing is to understand how diverse the entire continent is. If you go to South
Mm,
Africa, you have the city of Cape Town, which is so comparable to San Francisco. It's really
really?
vibrant, it's very safe, you can walk around yourself, you have incredible restaurants to pick from. I think South Africa has the best cuisine in the world. I have not been to another place that has that diversity and that does such an amazing job with flavors. It is so flavorful. And of course, you have a lot of unique meats. They do a lot of lamb, but they also eat a lot of kudus and exotic animals. To them, a beefsteak is really boring. Like this is not something that to them is a big treat, but a kudu steak is. So it's really very very amazing. So you have South Africa, you have the vineyards and the wines that are amazing, and the safaris. And really, once you go on safari, you're not roughing it. The places where we send you, we always make sure that you experience a tent. But our tents, they have carpeted floor, they have
Oh,
bathroom facilities and shower inside the tent. And I love tents because you can hear the wildlife at night. Because
oh my goodness.
at night you hear everything. I was sleeping in the tent and I had hippos walking around me, which is really, they sound very different. And they're very dangerous animals. You're not going to step outside of your tent at night, but you don't have to. You have everything there. So, but
That
yes,
sounds terrifying a little bit.
no, you're totally safe. We have bungalows where you have your own private plunge pool. One of my favorite experiences was sitting in this plunge pool, hanging over the edge, and below me are some antelopes walking through, and up in the trees are some monkeys, and you have
Oh
to
my
watch
gosh.
them because they like to break into your room and steal stuff. So
Okay.
they won't bother with you, but they like to be little thieves. But imagine that you're having a sunset, you're looking at animals, you're out in the open, you're in a little plunge pool having a glass of wine from South Africa. So Africa is not roughing it. And when you go on these game drives, you are in these vehicles and you're going down dirt roads, so it can be bumpy, but you're not going fast because you're looking at animals, you're observing animals, and then you typically stop and you have something to drink. Some, like if you go in the morning, you'll have some pastries and some coffee and orange juice. And that's when you look at the tracks. Like elephant tracks are so cool. They're this big. I mean, they're huge. And to see an elephant track in the sand, that is so unique. It's so special. But
Oh, wow.
everybody that goes to Africa comes back with very unique experience. And I can never tell you what you're going to see because everybody's experience is always so different. You can't predict what wildlife is going to do, but it's once in a lifetime experience. And I do feel that everybody should go to Africa, to the continent, at least once in their lifetime.
And you can always give your clients some firsthand experience about what to bring, what they should expect, how
Yes,
what kind of shoes to wear,
yes.
binoculars, don't forget this, which is truly valuable information. What about like the research trips and the conservation trips? You were actually on a trip where you were inoculating a hippopotamus?
No, it was a rhino.
Oh, a
So,
rhino.
yes.
Okay.
And you don't have to build the entire trip around that. It's not like you are doing some of this work every single day. This was just one of our days. Well, for our 14 days, we were in Africa. And what they want to do is they want to put a chip into the rhino's horn. So if he
Oh,
gets poached, they can track it. It's to get a little poacher is not going to make a big dent in the whole issue we have with poaching and
mhm.
terrorism and all of that leads to, because that's how a lot of terrorism is financed. But if you do something like that and you can follow the horn and see where it ends up and maybe go after the higher ups, it makes a big difference. Now, I do hope this rhino is still alive, but if he's not, at least hopefully he will have served a good cause where they were able to catch some key people in the whole thing. So that was a unique experience. This veterinarian, he we tracked the rhino, we darted it, and they're really big. So when they lay on the side after either 10 or 20 minutes, they have to be rolled over because their heaviness of the body pushes pressure on the organs. Well, you can't just do that as one bed. A single vet can maybe dart the rhino and insert the chip in the horn, but he's not going to be able to turn it over. And they do a little bit more work. They make sure the animal is healthy. They take blood, they do a DNA tests and all of that. So it took all 10 of us in our group to roll that rhino over.
Oh my goodness.
And then afterwards, he said, he has gone through some stress. He was given the tranquilizing shot. He's going to get something else to wake back up. And he said, since he's right here, we're also going to give him a penicillin shot, to help him with the whole thing. And he said, who has ever given a shot? And I'm like, I have horses. I've given them shots. He's like, want to give this animal a shot? And I did. And to get through, to get through hide that's like 2 inches thick takes a lot of strength.
Well, that's an experience not everybody can say that they've had. That's amazing. Well, your business, Avenues of the World in Flagstaff, as we mentioned, you're celebrating 30 years this year. And I want to just express what a feat that is. In the last 20 years, we've had, of course, 9/11, we've had the Great Recession, we've had the pandemic, and all of those events affected tourism. How did you stay in business? What is the secret to your success?
It's our team, and it's also our optimistic outlook in life. We can do that. So
That helps.
it helps. We were still busy because we were canceling all these trips, and we basically lost 85% of our sales and income, which was very stressful. But
Wow.
we couldn't just sit back because we had to cancel all these trips and rebook them and take care of the clients and be their advocate. And that was really important. If people were on their own, I felt that maybe they didn't get the best advice or services. So we felt that we took well care of our clients, and then our team, we took care of each other. Everybody was willing to stay on. If people were on commission, they went on salary. We reduced hours. And, when we got these government funds that helped us through this too, that was definitely distributed so everybody could benefit. And so we just came out of the pandemic, I think, stronger than before because we still retained our entire staff. We've added one since. And, we have huge client loyalty. Our clients love us and we love them.
Well, I can speak from experience. You take very good care of your clients. You feel very safe and very prepared for any trip that you're going on. This has been so much fun talking to you. I want to congratulate you and Eve for 30 years in business, a tough business, but one that you obviously love.
Yes, very much.
Thank you, Monica. It's been great having you here.
Thank you, Bonnie.
You can find Avenues of the World at avenuesoftheworld.com. You can also read more about Monica and her travel tips in Flagstaff Business News. Look for writer Betsy Bruner's story at flagstaffbusinessnews.com. As we mentioned, I'm coming to you from Paris, and we're calling this the Zonie Living Travel Edition. Now, if you like to walk a lot, Paris is the place to go. In Arizona, however, we have an amazing hiking trail, 800 miles of the Arizona Trail that spans from the border with Mexico to the border with Utah. And standing by on the Arizona Trail is avid hiker Sharon Tewksbury-Bloom. Sharon, are you there?
I am. Great to see you, Bonnie.
Great to see you too. Now you are in the Ponderosa Pine Forest, a lovely area. It looks like you're out in the middle of nowhere, but you're not that far from Flagstaff. Tell us about your location.
Yeah, I'm standing here at Picture Canyon, which is a protected open space, and it's on the section that goes through Flagstaff on the Arizona Trail. And it's actually just the trailhead's right behind the Flagstaff Mall, so it's really accessible to us locals. But it's also an amazing part of the trail that goes through an area that's got a lot of history.
A lot of history, even prehistory. So I know there's some rock art out there. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's called Picture Canyon because there's amazing petroglyphs on display here, just hundreds of them. And it's an area that's also got a lot of other evidence of, indigenous communities passing through. You see them, the old squash plants are also visible here where people were harvesting. So there's a lot of rich cultural history.
And there's also a lot of wildlife in the area. I know you've had some encounters with wildlife in Picture Canyon.
Yeah, just last time I was here, I saw a lot of elk. Today, I saw a lot of hoof prints and, scat and other signs that there's
Sure.
wildlife about. There's also red-winged blackbirds that are along because there is water that goes through this area. So it's a riparian area with lots of birds and lots of plants and very cool things to see.
Which of course is always very special in Arizona. Now, I know the Arizona Trail has a lot of meaning to many people in Arizona. Hundreds of volunteers have helped maintain the trails. Dale Shewalter was a teacher in Flagstaff who had this grand vision, and he was able to complete it, which is just incredible. He had help from the late Jim Babbitt, who was out here charting trails with him, and Dr. John Hildebrand, one of the town's doctors that has been here for a long time. The three of them would be out charting trails. And I know it's special to you too, Sharon. Tell us some of the history that you have with Picture Canyon.
Yeah, several years ago, I was working for the AmeriCorps program, managing that program here in Flagstaff, and I had the honor of hiring someone to be an open space coordinator for this Picture Canyon spot. And they were designing all those educational materials and the map at the trailhead that would help people understand what they were seeing here. We also did volunteer projects because this area for a long time had been a place where people were dumping trash and it had
Mm.
really gotten polluted. So we did some volunteer projects that picked up some of the remaining trash after all the decades of work that's been done to protect this area.
Now, when it comes to hiking in Arizona, I always have some rules that I follow. Always bring plenty of water, bring sunscreen, have snacks, and I prefer snacks that have protein for that energy boost. But I also, especially when I'm hiking in the desert, bring along a comb because a comb is a great way to disconnect yourself from jumping cholla or other kinds of cactus. And then I also bring Benadryl and an EpiPen. You never know when you might be stung by something that you have a reaction to. And there are a lot of bees, especially in the spring and springtime out in the desert, that you may not know that you're allergic to until something like that happens. So, Sharon, I'd like to hear what some of your top tips are.
Yeah, it's great advice that you have. Everything on the Arizona Trail is pokey. I've definitely been stung by a bee before, and I was super grateful that I wasn't allergic. The
Oh,
main thing that
scary.
I always have to do is protect myself from the sun. So I've had a sun umbrella that I bring. I wear long sleeve and long pants. I have all different kinds of sunblock. So I am, fair skinned, and I find that it is very difficult to try to protect myself from our really intense sun out here. So anything you can do to keep yourself shaded and keep yourself hydrated is really key.
That's a really good point. And I think a lot of people, when they're not familiar with Arizona, especially when they go up to the higher elevations, they don't realize just how intense that sun is. Even if there's a nice breeze and it feels cool, you've got to cover up.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got an Arizona Trail bandana that I'm wearing, and I love bringing bandanas because they're useful for everything. You can make shade out of them, you can wipe your face with them, you can use them to pick up a spilled food or whatever you need. So bandanas are super versatile.
I'm a big bandana fan as well. Now, Sharon, I know that you have so many favorite spots along the Arizona Trail, and I think one of them was a picture that you showed me. Looks like a desert area, and it was a sunrise. Do you remember that? Can you tell us about that one?
Yeah, I think that was from Alamo Canyon. It's between Kearney and Superior. It's an area that a lot of people cite as one of their favorite parts of the trail. And for me, it's special too because it was my very first section I did solo. I was backpacking for 4 days by myself, and there were just so many things to be nervous about, but then there were also those amazing rewards like that beautiful sunset and
Oh
sunrise.
my gosh. Now, did you love it being out there by yourself, or was it just a little bit much?
The first day I was so nervous. I was dropping things. I was, having paranoid thoughts the whole time. But
No
as soon
doubt.
as I got over that, then it was just glorious. I loved it, every minute of it.
Now, you told me your mother-in-law, Cindy Holt, had introduced you to the Arizona Trail, and you went on a backpacking trip with her.
Yeah, she started section hiking the trail. I think she said it was when she turned 50. She wanted to make the goal of seeing her state there, where she grew up, really close up by hiking the whole trail. And so she was already working on it, usually just day trips here and there. But once she wanted to do her first overnight trip, she was also nervous. So she asked me if I would go with her.
Well, that is really great that you did it. Now, a section hiker, I think there are a lot of those section hikers out there. Now, it took her 5 years, I think you told me, to accomplish the entire 800 miles, which can be really rugged in a lot of places. And you're working on that too. How close are you to finishing, to completing the Arizona Trail?
Yeah, I've been doing it even longer than she did. It's hard when you're trying to do it while you're also working. The logistics are complicated too, but I've
Well,
got
sure.
190 miles left, and a lot of it is actually up here in the north. So I should be able to get it done this year.
And some of your favorite spots, no doubt, include the San Francisco Peaks and the Grand Canyon. And what are some others that you love?
Well, it's really special to me, the area around Patagonia, which is in the first 50 miles. I
Oh,
think maybe
wow.
there's some, just wonder of starting at a border, like starting at the Mexican border and hiking north. And I actually did that section at the very beginning of the pandemic. And so it was just really amazing to be able to be out in nature and see such beautiful things while having, stressful things happening in the world.
Sure. And as you mentioned, you also work. And so when you're not hiking, you're likely facilitating with your company, your CEO and founder of Bloom Facilitation. And one of your superpowers, I've heard, is bringing people together and creating a positive outcome. Tell us about a little about what you do.
Yeah, I like to work with intact groups like groups of employees or a board of a nonprofit and help them reconnect, re energize. We've all been through a lot. So sometimes they're just kind of in a rut or they've lost, that common vision. And so I love to come in and give them an amazing experience that helps them feel reconnected and re energized to do their work.
Fantastic. And I also know that giving back is really important to you, helping other people. I know you work with a lot of nonprofit organizations and volunteer with a lot of different organizations. And I wanted to mention that because what a lot of people probably don't know about you is you are a two-time donor of bone marrow, which is not an easy thing. It is not an easy process. I hear it's painful. I hear it takes weeks, 6 weeks or more to recover. And you just recently went through that to help a stranger.
Yeah, I did. I had been aware of bone marrow and how it can be such a life changing, cure, not really a cure, but a treatment for someone who is facing a really aggressive cancer like leukemia. My sister was diagnosed with leukemia as a baby, and she had tried, they had gone through radiation and chemotherapy, but by the time she was 4, they were running out of options and they decided that a bone marrow transplant made the most sense. So siblings are often the best fit because you do have to have someone that's close to you genetically, or a match on multiple levels. And so I was able to donate bone marrow to my sister when I was 2 and she was 4. And I don't really remember it, but I think that it was a really powerful experience and something I knew just from family stories of the fact that it saved her life. And I was, of course, very grateful to have that ability to save her life.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think that probably, even though you were so young, set you on a path to be caring about other people and to help people where you can, which is just an incredible story. You have a podcast, in fact, that talks about people doing good things. Give us a sample of what that's like.
Yeah, I started the Do Good, Be Good podcast because I have worked in service and volunteerism, and I felt like there's so many stories we don't hear about not just the good that people are doing, but how it can be complicated or how
Mm.
people might be questioning internally, was that the right thing to do? Or how do I decide to, switch careers and maybe take less money but do something that feels more purposeful. So I just think there's a lot of rich stories and how people decide to help others and what it means to them and how it changes their life.
Oh, no, no kidding. Just amazing, amazing stories. And of course, amazing stories and great work that we have to again thank our volunteers who are out there maintaining this 800-mile stretch of the Arizona Trail. So beautiful out there where you are. And Sharon, you are such an amazing woman. I hope we can talk again soon. And I'm hoping that I get to hike with you in the near future.
I'd love that.
It's great to see you. Thanks so much for coming out and letting us join you on your hike.
Thanks, Bonnie.
You can find out more about Sharon Tewksbury-Bloom's facilitation business by visiting bloomfacilitation.com. Also, you can tune into her podcast, Do Good, Be Good, and read more about Sharon at flagstaffbusinessnews.com. Before we go, I'd like to give you some highlights of Paris. This is the oldest church built in Paris. It's called the Church of Saint-Germain-des-Prés. It was built in the 6th century, a Roman Catholic church built outside of the city walls, and it was destroyed by Vikings and then rebuilt in the 8th century. According to Google, it was used in scenes in the TV series Vikings. Of course, the Eiffel Tower, especially at night, is always a favorite stop. And right now, all over Paris, there are signs of preparation for the 2024 Summer Olympics. Also, the great Notre Dame Cathedral that you may remember was severely burned in a fire 4 years ago. It's under heavy construction, and it's scheduled to be completed by summer 2024. I hope you've been inspired to make some travel plans soon, whether it's a 2-week cruise, a trip to an exotic location, or a day hike on the Arizona Trail. This is Zonie Living, Business, Adventure, and Leadership. I'm Bonnie Stevens.